So do we expect, since we've been shut down with this pandemic, dead period until June 1st, campus is going to be then open. First of all, I haven't seen it statistically confirmed, but have there been less commits during this time because of the pandemic than there normally would be? Therefore, if there is, and I guess Kevin would be the best to address this, I would think, would we expect there to be more commitments during the summer after all these weekend visits?
Things are going to go nuts.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Things are going to go insane. And I still think that a lot of the commitments that you see out there right now, I think you could see a lot of movement. Maybe not as much of people leaving Ohio State or Alabama's classes or whatever, but it certainly would not surprise me to see some kids who have committed to what you would sit there and say are lesser programs or whatnot and gotten their placeholder commitment in place. They can go out and do some camps. Ohio State just announced its camp dates. I just saw Larry Johnson put a tweet out. You know, you get these kids out there and they start getting noticed by other programs. They could move around. I guarantee you there are a lot of programs out there with certain kids that are like, we really need to see you. We know things are going to be opening up. I know for a fact kids have tried to commit to programs and have been told to wait. So we're going to see absolute craziness. And I have a feeling that the June shows probably will all have some pretty substantial recruiting segments in it, because I expect a lot of news to start happening with that first visit weekend, the weekend of the 4th and 5th of June.
And that transfer portal was really humming right after the season for 6 or 8 weeks. It's died down. Now that guys have seen where they stand on the depth chart, can we expect that also to get kicked back into gear with guys seeing, okay, I'm not necessarily in as good a place as I thought I was?
Definitely. That's where this starts to happen. It'll happen at Ohio State. It'll happen all over the nation as position coaches and head coaches start talking to their players about where they are. Like every player, it's not like an exit interview. It's more of like this is your quarterly review interview type of thing, and players will get told like, well, right, this is how we have you. I see these 3 guys in front of you. This is what you'd have to do to make up ground, or it's going to be really hard for you to play here. It's going to be really hard for you to make up ground. And so they have these honest conversations. And Ryan Day has said that the reason they're difficult conversations, but they're also not because they're honest with the players. They keep them up to speed throughout the course of practicing and camps and just every day, daily. The players kind of know where they stand. They certainly know how they're playing. And so when you have these uncomfortable conversations, it's not out of the blue. So that also alleviates things, makes things easier. Plus, I don't think Day or his staff has ever stopped a player from playing, from transferring and being eligible that same year. So they also will go to bat for players who want to play elsewhere. And so, you're going to see that at Ohio State. I don't know. They've already – Max Ray, the offensive tackle, went into the portal during spring. You know, how many more? 4, 5, 6, 3? I mean, somewhere in that range. It's not going to be none, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Ray. We haven't heard yet where he's going to go, but probably somewhere closer back home in Tennessee or wherever. But the other thing is, and I know this because I've got son and daughter who are going to graduate on May 9th, which is Mother's Day. They're going to have their graduation at Ohio Stadium. I think this is the last week for full classes, and then they go into exams after that. So when the exams are completed and the grades are posted, that's when you'll see maybe 1, 2, 3 guys say, "Hey, I'm done with Coach Mick. I'm not going in there to screw around with him anymore. If I'm not going to play here, I'm moving on." So, it'd be pointless to go in there and lift weights and run if you don't see a future at Ohio State. So that's the timing element of it. Probably about the first week of May or thereabouts. That once the exams are done, the grades are posted, you got your transcript, and you're a free agent. So you can, move on and go pursue something else. And I wouldn't think that maybe 1 to 3 guys would be in that boat, but I wouldn't look for many more. And as far as a weakness on this roster, there's been talk about them getting the linebacker from Tennessee. I'm not sure if any closure ever came to that, but given the state of the linebacker group and where things are at right now, maybe that's still a possibility of an incoming transfer of that kid or somebody else at some point.
Yeah, with Henry To'oTo'o, just kind of waiting to see. I mean, there was some rumors that he was going to try and take some April visits that have now kind of bled into May or whatnot. I think they're waiting to see if now that there's the one-time transfer that's in place, but conferences still can kind of supersede it and not allow you to do it within conference. Does the SEC come on board with that? Does that allow a potential transfer from Tennessee to Alabama? Because a lot of people put To'oTo'o to Alabama. I still like Ohio State's chances there. I kind of agree with the guys in saying, 1 to 3 guys potentially could transfer out to look for an opportunity. I've heard, maybe we might even see a medical retirement along the way. I think we'll see a couple of names move on one way or another. But yeah, you have to be honest with these players, and I think that's you use that moving forward, because if you just sit there and you start jerking these kids around and you're not honest with them, I guarantee you it ends up getting out there in terms of you trying to recruit kids in the future. So, I would much rather have these quote unquote difficult conversations and keep a roster full of motivated guys who are all, working for the same thing, rather than just trying to keep your numbers high, even if it's just guys that are just kind of around who just don't really seem to have any sort of path to the field.